Welcome to the Dream Hub podcast, the space where we wander through the landscapes of dreams, consciousness, and the mysteries that remind us that we are more than flesh and bone. I'm Melissa Johnson, your host and guide on this journey into the unseen. Today, I'm joined by Admir Serrano, a researcher, writer, and lecturer whose work bridges the worlds of out-of-body experience, near-death encounters, reincarnation, and the afterlife. Admir has spent over 25 years consciously exploring what lies beyond the veil of death, returning with insights that challenge the materialist view of the mind and affirm the immortality of the soul. He's the author of 9 books in both Portuguese and English, and his mission is both bold and comforting. It's to remind us that death is not an end, but a passage, and that our loved ones live on, learning, growing, and loving us still. And I've experienced this through dreams, and this is a really passionate subject of mine. So this conversation is an invitation to expand your sense of who you are and what it truly means to be alive. So welcome to the Dream Hub podcast, Admir.
Thank you, Melissa, and also to your um, spectators, your viewers, and it's a pleasure to be here. And thank you for having me.
Thanks
this
for
is
coming.
really a subject that is amazing. That we are, like, just as you said, we are much more than we think we are, and what lies beyond that we don't realize. I am fortunate to have learned it for the past 25 years. It's a miracle to be here. It's a miracle to be alive. And it is a miracle to know that our existence continues forever and ever and always growing, progressing.
Beautiful. Now, since this is the Dream Hub podcast, I'd love if you'd be able to explain what are the differences between dreams and out-of-body experiences.
This is the thing. I am convinced that most of our dreams are out of body experiences, except for a few that, when you're doing something in your house, you have a problem or something. And then when you go to bed, you dream that you're doing something, that you're burning your food, or I don't know, you're chasing kangaroos in the backyard. Things like that. So there's a lot of nonsense in there, but things that experiences that we have had. But there are many that we are out there. We are on the other side, experiencing it, experiencing what we're going to experience when we are no longer living the physical life, at least for a while. And the thing, what happens is that we're not lucid enough to know that we are out of our body. And in my lectures and in my book, I give hints, suggestions, and how what you can do for you to become lucid. So you start, you're dreaming something like you're in a land somewhere, and it's a little bit different than what you customarily see. And then, there are people there, and you're doing things, amazing things. You can fly, for instance, but you don't know because you're not lucid enough to realize that that thing that's happening to you has its own reality. So um, so many of the dreams are out of body experience, and the difference is that the dream itself, like dreams that happen, things that you do like during the day, things that bother you, or you watch a movie and then at night you dream something. Those are mental things, right? Those are memories that they pop out when we are in the sleep state. And it's basically nonsense. But the dreams that they have like a beginning, a middle, of an end, all that like as a story. then they are most likely out of body experiences with low lucidity. That's what I call. So you don't realize that. And then there are the lucid dreams that you know that you're dreaming, and then you are able to like make decisions. You know, go here, go there. You're kind of lucid. You even know who you are. It's still a little dreamy, but it's just is a level over the dream state and approaching lucidity for an out of body experiences. And you when you train, and I speak about that in my books too. When you train from that you are lucid in a lucid dream, there's a way that you can become a little more lucid and realize that you are out of your body. So, so that's basically what happens.
Oh, that's so interesting. I love it. I know when you're explaining these different levels of dreaming, I can resonate. I know what you mean.
Yeah.
So, how did all of this begin for you so long ago?
Well, the out of body experiences, the first time that I was lucid and that I realized that I was out of my body was in the year 2000. So 25 years that's been happening to me frequently, up to these days, and some weeks, you know, stronger than other, or uh, more episodes of that, and so forth. And it was very interesting. I was I was kind of suddenly I realized that I was floating in the air. I was kind of I was floating, but I was not going very fast. And then I looked around and I saw a little pine grove, like pine trees, and there is this sandy road on down there because I looked down, I saw the sandy road down there, and the top of the pine trees here, and I was kind of in the middle. But I thought it was interesting. I was not scared or anything. It was just amazed by the experience, because then I realized in this trajectory of the 25 years that that was the beginning. There was a purpose, a much greater purpose that would follow that experience. And I'm very curious, and I've always been curious. So I want to know what was happening. And then I was in this place, and then I suddenly I realized that like I was floating like on top of this pine tree, one of them, and I was trying to pull out some like the needles, because I realized that I was wearing a pair of shorts, and they had pockets. So I thought I'm gonna grab one or this, and I'm gonna put him out because I was lucid. I thought I'm gonna put in my pocket, and tomorrow morning I was thinking of that. And tomorrow when I get home, I'll see if it's here. But I couldn't pluck it out. Then I looked up front, like saw the road, little sandy road, and I looked down there and I saw this little like guardhouse, very small. It looked like a guardhouse because when I looked beyond it, I saw this type of like a village, and there are houses, the small houses, like one next to the other, and the the tiles, the roof was like the clay tiles, like brownish. And I saw that there's green grass, beautiful green grass from from where I was, actually that side of the road, and the guardhouse, all extending all the way to the village. And then I thought about going to because I followed the sandy road, not the yellow brick road, the beige sandy road. And I kind of lowered because I was high up. I lowered uh, because the guardhouse was by on the roadside. So I went there, and I noticed that there was like writings on the wall and graffiti things. And I was kind of floating. I was walking. I would say that I was walking on the road, but I was not really walking. I was just like floating type, but I was like close to the road, to the sand. And I was trying to read the letters. Actually, I saw there was language that I didn't understand, because sometimes when you're, you know, I think this might have happened to you, because when we're out of our body, you try to read. Sometimes the words keep changing. I have read, when my lucidity is high, I read it. I read it and I repeat, I just can't bring back. But when your lucidity is low, the words just jump up. You can't read
Mm-hmm.
anything.
Mm-hmm.
So then I saw, and then I was curious. Then I went a little bit farther up the road, the right, still there in the guardhouse, and there was a window, a opening actually. It was just an opening. And this lady, like middle-aged lady, she poked her head out of the window and looked at me and said, "Are you lost?" I said, "Well," I said, "maybe I am." I said, what's this place?" She said, "Oh, you can call it a colony." And she said, "Oh, we spoke in English." See, this is the thing that is interesting, that I speak English. Sometimes, like in that time, I spoke English. Many other times, I speak English. And then when I am with, on the other side, where most of the disembodied spirits or are Brazilians, they normally there's this um, um, like places where they live, like in the areas, in the geographic area, the physical and geographic area of the country. So the Portuguese community of the disembodied people, they're all around there. So then I go there and I speak Portuguese. I also speak Spanish because I live in Miami. That's the language that I speak the most. Sometimes I speak Spanish too, but less than that. Mostly it's English and Portuguese, like I'd say half and half. And in that case was English. And then um, she said a colony. And I was born on a coffee farm in Brazil. And I was born there and lived until like I was about 7. And then the farms, the coffee farms, had those things that we called colony. Coincidentally, the houses were like white and with the gray, the brownish clay uh, tiles on the roof. So I said, as like a farm colony, maybe people. She said, well, not quite. And then I knew in Brazil that there's a lot of spiritualism. Spiritualism is very big in Brazil. And I'm a spiritualist, or actually I'm a spiritist. Allan Kardec Spiritism. It's a religion that grew out of France, and in the wake of the phenomenon here. I don't know if you know the Fox sister and the Hydesville rappings in 1848, during this phenomenon that there's an invasion of the physical, like in the United States and then the world, of spirits who came making a lot of noise, and they started here. There's a religion that was called the modern American spiritualism, and then the tables would move and the tables would knock on the floor in seance meetings, and they developed this way that they could talk to the table by asking the table to punch. Like if it says yes, punch once. If no, just twice for something like that. For A, you jump once. In, in a small table with 4 or 3 legs, it was one to tap on the floor to to write a message, and that was a big thing. And then they found out that spirits were moving those tables and communicate. And then it progressed that the mediums, then they start writing, psychographing, or speaking, talking, something like that. And Brazil is very big in that. So a colony was a term that they used to describe this village or this place where dead people went after they after they died. And I asked, like, you mean a colony of dead people? And she said, well, but there's nobody's dead here. And then I was looking at her, that everybody's alive here. There's no dead people here. And then I was looking at her, and I thought, and I was thinking in my mind, but I didn't want to be indiscreet or something. But I was thinking, I wonder if she's dead too. Looking at her, and she looked at me without my saying anything. She said, "Do I look dead to you?" I said, oh, no. She said, well, then I asked her to if I could visit the village, and she said, not this time. So, and then my lucidity faded. I was very lucid at that time. Then the lucidity faded, and I probably woke up in my bed, and then will continue the sleep cycles that we go through in our experiences. And then I did go to that place a few more times, and that I don't remember exactly if I went to the village, but I know that I went to the same route that I did through the pine trees and then the road. And then after that, it just started like escalating. It was one experience more amazing than the other. And then I was curious enough to learn. And so I did research, and then I learned how to self-induce an out-of-body experience, and so forth. And then things increased, and then I realized that I had a mission, because then after that I like a presence in my room taking me out of my body, instructing me on how to do things. So, and that was the day when I trace it, that story. That was the day that I found, and in my upcoming book, I say the day I rediscovered my immortality. I say I rediscovered because I already knew it, but you don't realize because you're focused on other things. You're focused on your material survival, and then you forget about your spirit because you gotta feed your body. But then at one point, that's gonna. In my case, it came, and then lately, I realized that because I know I had more experience that there's no way, and I've been challenging the neuroscientific community, all the big shots that they say that the consciousness, I mean the brain produces consciousness. I'm challenging all of them individually and in mass to prove that my experiences are product of my brain.
Mm. Yeah, sometimes the experiences that people have like this, they end up finding out information or proving facts that there's no way that their own brain could have physically have known. So I love that
Yeah.
you're challenging that. That's great.
Yeah,
I
and I have verifiable also experiences that I know that I went to a place like four of them, and then with the fact I was able to verify that that was true. There was like things that happened on Earth or here while I was out there, and I was visiting because there's this the spirit world, and it's all together. There's no, it's all we are all immersed in the same. The spirit world is immersed in our physical world and in ours in there. So it's all around you.
hmm. I thought that was beautiful. The woman in in the well, in your experience in the dream saying that there's no dead people here.
Those are people here.
I think
Nobody.
that's so
We're all alive.
beautiful. I love to, believe that consciousness continues after we physically die, but you're still alive. So that's beautiful. I'm curious, you said that you've been to the same place, like the pine trees place, a few times in a row. I'm wondering, did you have a technique to get back to the same place?
No, no.
It just
There's something
spontaneously
that
happened?
yeah, yeah. And there's another thing that I forget. I asked her, "What is the name of this place?" And she said something. Now I'd say Peona or Peony, but I think I got the name more clearer when she said that because that was 25 years ago. But I remember that I went to the internet and I looked for a name that sounded like what she said. I don't know if I asked her to spell, because sometimes I ask, because I
Mm.
ask where I am. I am even given the coordinates where I am, and sometimes they tell me the region where I am. There, that's not, it's like in the no physical world. And then when I found it was a place like in New Zealand, so and that would
Mm.
explain
The
why I was
name
speaking English.
matches. Yeah.
Yeah,
And the
and
name
also
sounds from New Zealand too.
and there are pine trees in New Zealand for sure.
Hmm. Wow, that's great. I love going to visit different countries in experiences like that. You get to go somewhere you've
Yeah.
never been before. That's really cool.
Oh, I
So,
have some good ones.
yeah, yeah, I bet. If only we had more time, I could hear them all.
Well, you're gonna read the book. It's gonna come
Yeah,
out in.
definitely.
I could send you the manuscript if you want.
Yeah, I'd love
I
to.
think I did. I might have.
I'll double
It's all
check.
there.
Yeah, that's great. That's
Yeah,
really exciting. Yeah, let me know when it comes out. I'll share with everybody. So
for sure.
you learnt to self-induce your out-of-body experiences. Do you want to share how you do that?
Well, there a couple of ways. The first is a very successful one, and that was the one that did it. That was the one who showed me that I am an immortal being, not by extension, all of us, because that one is of all the experience, the most dramatic, the one that was, and I understand now that I was not alone in that because that experience, it would have an impact for this work that I'm doing now, which is to preach the reality of immortality. So it was a simple technique that I learned in one organization here in Miami. They're part of a Brazilian organization that studies and research out of body experiences. And that's a simple technique. In that case, I went to bed normally, at 11 o'clock at night. But that was a time, I think it was 2006. That was a time that my experiences were at the peak. It hit a peak. It's an amazing experience. So, and that one obviously would have a purpose. So I lay down in my bed and I knew because I had learned it when first is to relax. You relax your body totally, and then you relax your mind, you quiet your mind. And then I learned that when you, it depends on the level of your relaxation, you're going to feel an internal vibration in your body. I don't know if you have that. You'd have that's called a vibrational state. So it took me probably about 15 minutes to begin to feel the vibrational state. And then I was very calm because it was the first time that I experienced it, but I had theoretical knowledge about it.
Yeah,
Not
when I
empirical,
tried to
but
do it, I struggled because I had to try about 4 nights in a row, and I should have tried while I wasn't so tired because I'd fall asleep before it would
but
happen. It's like you
sometimes it
have to
happens.
sort of push past falling asleep and stay in
Yeah,
the liminal space.
yeah. But then the vibration started, and then when it hit its peak. Then it started on the tip of my toes, the vibration. Then throughout the entire body, and then it was like vibrating. It's like there's no pain or anything, but it's like an electrical shock. And then I noticed that the energy became stopped, like from the same place they had started, the tips of my toes, and then it kind of started. I felt it withdrawing. So it's like withdrawing and rolling, like a snowball, rolling and coming up and moving up at to a point. And then in a few seconds, I wouldn't feel my body was cold and rigid. And then I noticed that as the energy was withdrawing in a process, there's this noise. It's very subtle noise, like
It's
the
like,
bouquet of flowers, the cellophane flower, that
yeah,
bouquet of flower they have. You like crumple it, get
yeah,
it,
it's
it,
like
it, right.
shh, kind of.
Yes, yeah. And then it accumulated in my head. So in that one point, my head felt like it was going to not explode or anything, but something wanted to eject out of it. It was like a jammed radio station. I'd hear voices, noises, like whooshing sounds, winds, and all kinds of stuff. But I also knew that that was going to happen, that might happen. And the secret was to remain calm. And I also knew from what I had learned, if I would give a suggestion as to where I wanted to go at the point that I was going to eject, I'd end up there. So then I had made up my mind to go and visit my sister in Brazil, 4,000 miles from Miami, 6,000 kilometers, which is the measure that you use there. And I hadn't seen her for 9 years. So at the nick of time, I said, go to Marlene's. And then I heard this pop right here in the center of my um, front forehead. Tack! And I found myself in front of the door of her house, 6,000 kilometers away. Now this is thing that is very important, and I make it clear in my book. Up to the moment before the talk, all me, my existence, the person that I know as myself was enclosed in the physical body. I was thinking with my physical brain. I was feeling with the feelings, the senses of the body. I I was aware of my bed. I was aware of my room, of everything there. That was the only person that existed at that moment there in my room. When the transition came, that I was there in the door, in front of my sister's door, that was the me that I am. I had completely forgotten about the body that was back there. That body could have died, and I wouldn't even notice it because I wasn't there. I was 6,000 kilometers away from it. So I not only experienced like the withdrawal of the spirit force that I am, but I also experienced the transference of all my cognitive abilities from the physical body at that moment to the spirit body that was down there in Brazil. So that was the point. That was the event that showed me clearly that consciousness is not dependent of the physical body. In fact, consciousness for us, the spirit part of us, is what gives life and motion to the physical body while we are in it. So, and then I crossed. I knew that had happened before. I knew that it was a wooden door. There would be no match for me. I could just cross it, and I did. And then I went to my sister's room, bedroom. It was about 11:30 in Miami, about 2:30 in Brazil, and she lived by herself, and she was in a room. And when I went, because I crossed also the closed door of her bedroom, and then I stopped and looked. Her bed was in the corner of the room, and I saw two bodies, two bodies in her bed, both hers. There was this body. Say one body like the bed here. So there's this body laying there. So the head was here because the wall was over here. So her head was here, the physical head. And then floating like about a foot above that body was another replica of her, but the opposite. The head of the spirit part body was like on top of the feet of the physical body. And then I noticed that both heads had a white bandage wrapped around it, and that drew my attention. So what I did when I saw that she was floating this way, like the floating part, so I kind of floated from where I was, like you see the astronaut in the International Space Station, that when they go, they just float through the bay and things like that. So that's what I did. So I kind of floated there, and then she was kind of drowsy in the 'cause the physical body was unconscious because her consciousness was in the spirit body. So she was kind of groggy. But then when I got there, she woke up and kind of sat on the air, in the air, And so we were face to face, and I gave her a hug, and I told her how much I missed her, loved her, and I kept telling her, "You are not dreaming. This is not a dream. I'm here visiting you. In the morning, I'm gonna call you, and I'm gonna ask you if you remember that I've been here." And then I kept saying, like 4 or 5 times I told her that you're not dreaming. And then but then I just forgot about the bandage. So in the morning I called her and I asked her if she remembered anything, but she didn't. So that's why I say that we are out of our bodies at night, even if we don't know. Maybe sometimes we just hang out in our bedroom, for better place or other place. So you just stay there, and that's probably that what's happened most of the time. Now in my call, I forgot to ask about the bandage. So just passed. And then 2 years later, I went to back to São Paulo, to Brazil, and I stayed in her place. I went there. That was 2008. I went there to launch my first book in Portuguese. Dying isn't the end, which has not been translated into other language, but I will translate it. So, and every morning I had activities. I had lectures, I had book tours and lectures and things like that. So, and every morning, and when I got home, she was sleeping. And then in the morning, she'd bring me coffee. And then one morning, she didn't bring me coffee, and I was kind of worried because I didn't hear any noise or anything. So I went to see what was going on, and I passed by her bedroom, and the door was a little open. So I poked my head inside, and I saw her laying there with her head wrapped with a white bandage, exactly the one that I saw that night. And then my sister, she suffered from migraine since she was 9 years old, and to this day. And so I asked her why, and I saw it, the dark bags under her eyes and stuff, a sign, and I saw her, and I said, "You got a headache, right?" She said, "Yeah." And I said, "Why do you have this white bandage?" She said, "Because when the pain is too much, I found a way that if I wrap it very tight, and there she had made like a kind of nut or knot here that would press this area here. So she said, if I wrap it very tightly, I can catch some sleep." And I asked her, "How often do you do that?" She said, "Well, quite often because, my headaches or, my migraines have been terrible." And then I mentioned to her, I told her, that day that I was here that night, I saw you with that band. And the thing is, thing is that the her spirit body or consciousness also um, created or brought that um, from the also she was also wearing the pajamas that she was wearing plus the bandage. So it was kind of projection that when the spirit body, because it's all energy, our body is condensed energy. So when the energy or somehow consciousness creates that the spirit body, it just creates for whatever is there in the form energy. If you wear your boot, your snow boots or something, it maybe you create that. In her case, was the bandage, and then that was the one that changed everything because I could experience my immortality from beginning to end.
Mm, that's amazing. I'm writing notes as you're telling the story because I'm hanging on your every word, thinking, where is this going? What's going to happen? And I've written, um, I was curious that at the beginning of the story that skeptics might say that it was just a memory of being at her house. You know how you've been somewhere before, you might be able to create that landscape again in your mind. And then I thought, no, it's more than that. Maybe it's telepathy because they're related. People who are related might have telepathy. And I'm thinking, well, is it a
Eh,
coincidence? Is it mutual
How do you
dreaming? Is it shared dreaming? Is it
uh,
time travel? And then, yeah,
uh,
I believe you. I wonder, like, what when the skeptics say that it's not true, you're very sure about it. Like, what would you say to them?
how are they going to explain how I left my body? How are they gonna say anything or have any saying in what I experienced internally? I
Mm.
saw everything. I experienced everything,
Mm.
and all these skeptics, most of them, they don't. Uh, Most likely, they didn't have an out of
Yeah.
body experience, except for what's her name? I forgot her name. There's this English
Mm.
lady who had an out of body experience, but there's no way they can't explain it, and because that was my experience. They cannot prove it. And I'm gonna tell you something about skeptics and people who don't believe in the afterlife. I have been for 3 years. I used to be a volunteer in a hospice. I was being trained to be a chaplain, working with dying people, and there were several that when they went to hospice, they were also skeptic, and they didn't believe in any of these things either, because they felt they were only body, their physical body, and then they have experiences at the end of the life, or of their life, in the transition period, and many of them, those that they say that, like one of these skeptic that you told me about, when he's there facing his mortality, or facing that, he is going to have those experiences. How is he going to explain that his body is producing it when he's there talking to people or relatives or friends who died, and are there telling them that they're there to help them out of the transition, and kind of guiding them. So they're gonna say, I'm hallucinating with that. And then in the moment of transition, when they see, there's some great experiences that they go through, seeing where they're going, and things like that. So they're gonna say that, and
Yeah, you
even
can
they're
sit
they're
back and sorry.
no, they're gonna find ways. You're dreaming. How do you explain with this all these internal things, feelings that I had, and then this transition? And I have
Mm.
many. If you read when you read the book, you're gonna see it. I'm challenging them all.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's great because this is becoming more well known. And I mean, it has been studied for centuries and people have always done this. And
Mhm.
people are skeptics until they experience it themselves. So
Yeah,
I'm wondering, like, yes, we can sit back and just wait for them to die and experience it themselves, but there are other people that want to have these experiences. So I'm wondering, can you explain how they could develop their skills or be able to enhance their dreams and have these experiences that are more lucid, conscious experiences rather than just going
for
on.
for the for the skeptic.
Yeah. Or for anybody, just for anyone who's
Or,
wanting to be able to have a clearer experience when they're, you say, dreams start off as like the memory of the day. And then the more aware you become, the more you're realizing that you're out of your body and the more lucid you can be. What are your favorite tips or techniques that you do or that you teach to help people to be able to have more clarity in other realms?
yeah. Uh, First of all, is open mindedness. Like a skeptic, it's gonna be very hard for them to achieve anything, because they're in their brain, that's it. So they're not going with the idea of not even a possibility, unless something drastic happens to them, like a near death experience or something. But for us, who are a little bit more focused on spirituality, on us we who pursue this path of understanding that we are much more than our physical body. Um, there are things that first is the let's say, who are the best candidates for instance, people who remember their dreams. People who those are the best because you like I said, many of those dreams are already out of body experience, but with zero lucidity. Um, in so you dreaming, and then you step up. Then you say, okay, you remember your dream, but you've never have had a lucid dream. So what that's what I'm saying is what I do. So then I work on suggestions, and my suggestions that I do either in writing every night. That I do that every night. I go to bed before I'm in the hypnagogic state, because there's we sleep in cycles. There are parts of the song, the dream, in the dream cycles during night. Certain cycles that favor a little bit more being out of body, beginning with the hypnagogic state, which is when we go to bed and we start falling asleep, that we start seeing like those images and things like that. And even we can start having or have actually a very sample of an out of body experience when we are falling asleep, when we have like 10 minutes after you go to bed, a falling dream, like you're falling and then we'll wake up like that. So, and also like ballooning, you feel like you're expanding, and you start seeing images forming in your mind, because there's other dimensions that we go in the dream stage, and there are such a thing as dream dimensions, because those things are happening there, because there are people like inhabiting there, consciousness inhabiting there that are non-physical, that will just like pierce through. It's not, it's around here. It could be in your bed, in your bedroom. There, you don't go anywhere. You just change dimensions that it's already there. So that's most likely one of the things that we visit the most. So in that phase, you can already see, because I learned to see when that is happening, that I'm just like piercing, like a portal thing, going through another dimension, and you learn that if you pursue it. So and um, then you try to become lucid, and suggestions are very good. So I use simple ones. Sometimes I just say that lucid dream, like 30, 40 times, lucid dream, lucid dream, lucid dream. And then if I expand a little bit, I'm gonna dream and gonna know I'm dreaming. And and tonight, and I'm gonna fly. I'm gonna know that I'm flying, and things like that, suggestion. But you can create one specifically, like one certain lucidity. I'm going to be lucid tonight. I'm going to be lucid tonight. You do that. Sometimes, like I have done that and achieved it the second night. One time I achieved the same night, and there's another time, because sometimes you kind of they kind of dry out for some reason. I mean, not the experience, but like lucidity, because I learned how to identify, even if I'm not lucid, if that dream that I had was other dimensional, instead of just being a thing of my mind, because I kind of know already the environment when it is a non-physical environment, things like that. So you become lucid, and then the first thing, and then that's the first step. Then maybe you can continue, because you're gonna love having become lucid in your dream, so you want to continue, and that will expand. And then the next time you say, now I'm gonna fly, for instance, when you become lucid, and then you fly, because the lucid dream itself is already an out of body experience. So then you say, now I'm gonna fly. You jump out and fly. So you were already out of the body, but when you do the jumping or the flying, so lucidity kicks in. And then just today, and I have levels, I have a scale of lucidity from 0 to 5, and 0 is no lucidity at all. It's one like when you're dreaming, because you don't know your name. But then when lucidity is clearing, like 5 is top. When I'm in 5 level lucidity, I have been there many times. I say my name, my birth date, where I live, I give my home address with zip code, my social security number, my phone number, and I remember and I say it because I do that because if you do those things, then you are increasing your lucidity. I say the name of my two daughters, their birth dates, my wife, and my grandson. So that is a five-level lucidity because that lucidity equals almost my lucidity right here. And sometimes I have had memory what I had done that past day when I was in my body. So, and then there are other levels that it's a little um, lower level, but you don't have the same high lucidity. But it's enough like workable that you know your name, you know where you live, and things like that. So, and then how is this skeptic neuroscientist going to tell me that I am dreaming? How am I able to remember all that while I don't know where?
Hmm.
How can I explain that?
I haven't heard of doing that before. I want to try it.
Yeah, you learn it. And one thing that I learned, and this is amazing, is the silver cord.
Mm.
You heard of silver cord?
Hmm.
And I learned it when I studied. I studied International Academy of Consciousness. They have an office here, a branch here in Miami, and they're an offshoot of a greater organization that started in Brazil. It's still there, very active in promoting our self research. So the projector or the OBE is the subject and also the researcher. So we do that. And one of the things that we do to increase lucidity is do a reality check. At the moment that you notice that you're out of your body, you say the first thing that you say, I'm out of my body. And then you could look at your hands. So you look at hands or you say, my name is Admir or Melissa, like I do. And then in one of them is for you to reach the back of your head and pull your silver cord. I have done that hundreds of times. And then if you have like a 3 point level lucidity, you are able to do that. And not only that, when because they're meeting, so when we are out of our bodies, we congregate with entities that are already out of their bodies, definitely, indefinitely, those who physically died, and those who are out of body as us. So we have these groups, we have meetings because I go to the same place many times, and they know me by name in many of these places that I go. And sometimes I don't recognize the place, and I ask her, "Have I been here?" She said, "Yeah, like a month ago you're here." And some people I recognize and I know the place where I am. So we are gathering like that. Sometimes it's like you're just chilling because you chill on the other side too. You tell jokes, you play around, and all that. So and I have this thing of bringing my hand on the back of the head of the person that was in front of me, and if I find a cord, I pull it out and I tell them, look, this is yours. This is not a dream. You're having an out of body experience. You're here. And one day, I saw one day, I did one like exactly like that. And I knew that he was out of body. I said, where are you from? He said, Miami. I said, well, I'm from Miami too. And I asked him, what's your phone number? I'm going to call you. And he gave me his phone number. 305 is the one of the area codes here. So he said 305. And he said the number because he was also very lucid. And I repeated that number several times, but it's hard to remember. So I remembered when I came back, I remembered the 305 and two other numbers, but I didn't have enough number to put a number together and call. So, and then end up remaining just the 305 because it's here and I forgot the other digits. So, in some of them, I do the same thing, the chord, and there's no chord, and they know it. They kind of laugh at me and say, "Oh yeah, I'm out of my body by permanently."
That's so cool. So, have you had a dream where you've spoken to someone on the other side, someone who's passed away, and sort of received any information or any proof that it was them?
Well, yeah, I have friends and relatives. I had this experience. This was an amazing one. I had a friend, a woman friend. We met as teenagers, and uh, she lived in Brazil, in São Paulo, and I lived in São Paulo. But then I moved here, so we were friends at that time. And she she was brunette. She had a hair like your color, but she bleached it. So she was always blonde with yellow hair for since I met her. Uh, and then time went by. I moved here to the United States, and I'd go visit Brazil. I'd visit her. I'd visit her husband. She was married and her daughter, and so forth. And then several years later, in the past, several years ago, I don't know, maybe let's say 12 or something, she developed colon cancer, and she was young, and she ended up dying from it. But we talked when she knew that she had the disease and that was very advanced. I'd call her and we'd talk, and she said, "I'm not ready for this." And then I knew that she wasn't ready. And then my sister, she was very close to him because her sister was married to my uncle, so she was like a cousin type. And then I found out she ended up dying, and I found out that her passing was terrible. She didn't want to go. She didn't want to go. She grabbed like the side of it. She was in the hospital. The side of the rails, like side rails of the bed, like that. She didn't want to go, and she ended up going. And then about 6 months later, I had this, and suddenly I became conscious, and she was right by my side, right here, with her original brunette hair. She wasn't blonde, and her skin, I remember it was very close. It was so beautiful. So, and then I told her, I know that you had a hard time passing. How are you feeling now? See, this is my conscious. That's what I asked. It was like, "Mm, well, how could that be a dream?" And wait for what happened later. Then she said, "Yeah, I did, but now I'm okay. Now, now I'm fine." And then we chat a little bit more. And then before I left because I knew that was returning, I told her, "Do you have any message to someone you want me to deliver?" She said, "Yes. Tell my mother not to worry about me, that I am happy here." I said, "All right, I'll tell her." And I had her number. Next morning, I called her about 10 o'clock in the morning, and I told her what happened that night. When I told her, the phone went silent, and I heard her sobbing. Then, when she gained her bearings, she came back. Said, "What happened? You're not gonna believe this, but I went to bed last night asking God to give me a message of her, how she was." I said, "Well, the message is given." And she said, "But she was kind of annoyed because she said, I don't understand why she went to you, not to me." And I said, "Well, I don't know either, but the important thing is that you got your message and your prayer was answered. So how can I explain something like that?"
It's amazing. That gave me goosebumps. Maybe just because you remember your dreams more. You're more
Yeah, it's
aware.
oh yeah, or a work because I do work with people who are who recent life. I
Yeah.
have some wonderful experiences of that, telling them that they died because they're confused. It's
Mm.
like many of them, if you don't know, and that happen, all the skeptic, they're gonna give us because we do work on the other side, like rescuing them or helping them out. They're gonna give us a hard time because it's not easy to convince a skeptic that he's dead. If he said, "How am I dead if I'm alive?" Because they, it's paradoxical. Because you feel alive, you know that you have a body, you see it, you feel it, and they're gonna tell that you died. So how are you crazy? And then it takes time for until they sink in that they're in another reality. They are alive indeed, but in a different mode, in a different reality.
I loved all of these stories. Thank you for sharing them. Before we wrap up this episode, is there anything else that you wanted to share with the listeners, the viewers, like any messages you want to deliver to them?
Yes, yes, I have. And the message is this: never fear death, because you are not going to die. The only thing that's going to happen to you and to us is that we leave this physical body, that we ourselves as a spirit created. Because this I who is talking to you all is not my body. I am the immortal spirit that is using this physical body to be able to interact in this physical life. And you who are listening to me, you are not the body who is listening to me. It's the body, if you are this mortal spirit that animates, that created and animates and gives motion to the body that you're using. So we are spirits. So the only thing that's going to happen when this body dies is that we're going to leave it and we're going to go to our higher horizons. And another thing, for all of you who have lost a loved one, probably most of us, or someone in our family died, of course, but those who, especially the mothers who lose their children and they're suffering, they are alive. They are still living. They exist. They know that you exist. They know who you are and they know the role that you played in their lives. And they still love you and they are around you. They do not leave and they think of you and see you much more often than you know. And the only thing that happened is that they are away from your sight, but they are just one thought away.
That's so moving. You're making me cry. It's beautiful. And I believe you. You're so right. And I'm really happy to be recording this with you and sharing this message out to people. This has been a gift speaking with you. Not only is it empowering in knowing that we are more than just our bodies and that we're bigger than we think, but knowing that we have the ability to have this awareness in other realms while we're still alive, and that it is something that you can teach yourself to do. And I think that's really exciting. And so I hope that for the people who are listening, this is encouraging you to work on your dream call and to work on your lucidity and to have a plan of where you want to go when you realize that you are somewhere new and you're awake, you know. So thank you, Admir. This has been amazing. So, for those who do want to journey further, you'll find Admir's books and lectures at admirserrano.com, and you can follow him on Instagram and Facebook at Admir Serrano. I will put the links in the show notes as I always do. Thank you for coming along, Admir. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Peace to all. Blessings.
And for everyone tuning in to the Dream Hub podcast, may your dreams tonight show you more of who you are and make you wake up tomorrow with a little more wonder about this miraculous existence that we share. Thank you all.